Hi Scorpio, welcome to your July 2018 reading with me. So there's a lot of things happening in July for Scorpios, a lot of things happening for everybody, and a lot of it is happening in the fixed signs, so Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus. One of the first things that happens in July that's of note is that Jupiter and the Sun trine each other, because Jupiter is in Scorpio, the Sun will be in Cancer, and it's beautiful romantic energy. So at the beginning of the month we've got this flow, right? But towards the end of the month we have the full moon in Aquarius, which is expect the unexpected. Some Scorpios like, some Scorpios don't. But this is a vibey moon. Like, this is the moon in Aquarius, the full moon in Aquarius is one of the most interesting ones for Scorpios, because oftentimes it's unexpected things that can happen right on our doorstep. So there's this expression that says destiny doesn't do home visits, but it does when the full moon's in Aquarius. So you could have something very unexpected happen. It could be small, it could be big. I'm thinking with Mars in Aquarius, it could be quite big this year. And one thing that happened to me at home that was unexpected, I remember with the full moon in Aquarius when I was young, because I remember looking up at the moon and knowing it was in Aquarius and being excited because my moon's in Aquarius. But we had a cat that was about, I want to say she lived to 25 in human years, which is an old cat. And she unexpectedly died. Now this isn't a sad story, by the way, this is just strange. She died around the full moon, and when she died, our house suddenly got overridden with fleas and we had to move out for a few days. It was very unexpected, very strange. But that's just one of the things that can happen whenever the full moon is in Aquarius, and Aquarius is unexpected, and then that's in your fourth house, which is home. But there's a lot more exciting things due to happen than your cat getting fleas and dying. Also, this month Jupiter goes direct in Scorpio, after a lengthy retrograde period from, I believe, February to March. I had a video on this anyway, Jupiter going retrograde. It goes direct, so you're going to get that momentum. You don't realize it, Scorpio, that maybe the last 2 months have felt a little bit still for you, and you felt a little bit more trapped. Now, one of the cards that I think of when I think of this is the Nine of Swords. It's feeling trapped in your own body, trapped in your own life. It can sometimes just feel like things aren't moving, and the reason they're not moving is because there's so much going on behind the scenes in your head. Like, you've been building this momentum for the things that you want, and sometimes with retrogrades it's more about reflection than it is about action. And for Scorpios, waiting can seem much longer than it would, you know, if this your sign wasn't in retrograde. It can just feel very stagnant, and you can feel very like you're not getting anywhere, you're not going anywhere, and you feel like you had all these things envisioned, all these wonderful ideas, all these wonderful opportunities in here, and none of it has maybe manifested just yet. Now, I feel like with this full moon at the end of the month and the momentum built up during this retrograde, I feel like this month for you is all about sweet surprises, more so than cats with fleas. But again, with the amount of fixed energy going on, you have to remember to breathe, because sometimes with readings you can see that people will pull 10 of swords or whatever, and they'll think, oh god, someone's going to stab me in the back, or something's going awfully wrong. Not really, because although the guy in the 10 of swords has the swords in his back, it's not like necessarily it was someone else that put them there. Swords very much are metaphors for our mentality. So sometimes when we're really, really hard on ourselves, when we feel like everything's going wrong, you make that happen. And it's not always because, yes, the universe is responding to what you do, you know, your vibes come back to you. A lot of the time, so many of our circumstances are literally how we're perceiving things based on our mood. You know, you can have memories that would have been completely different, or they may have been completely different. You thought you had a wonderful time, but at the time you were actually in a bad mood. You know, your mind can play tricks on you. And for me, the 10 of swords, the reason the swords are in his back is because he's refusing to turn over and see the sun. You know, the sun's coming up in the 10 of swords, but because he has his swords in the back, mentally he's not going to see it. Like, he's just lying down and dying, effectively. You're giving in. And a lot of that is releasing resistance, letting things be, and having more faith. and then the sun comes up. So I feel like for maybe the last couple of weeks, you've possibly been feeling a little bit restricted, a little bit trapped, and a little bit suspicious, a little bit angsty. And what you don't realize is this is more so to do with how you're perceiving things. You know, Swords energy, it's more to do with how you're actually seeing the world. So that being said, as I've rambled on for 5 minutes, what are the messages for Scorpio in July? Scorpio in July. Scorpio. First card up the bat is the Page of Swords. This is all about communication. It can mean you're dealing with an air sign person. It can mean you're dealing with an immature energy, someone that's younger than you, someone who maybe is mentally testing you or pushing your buttons, or it may just be to do with a pattern of thought you have developed that has taken you back somewhat to where you were years ago. It may have been during the retrograde you felt old behaviours and old ways of seeing things that you thought you'd dealt with coming back, and this is the way I see you. Page of Swords, you're back to where you were maybe when you were younger, like the things you worried about when you were young. What's crossing you is strength, so you've not been feeling that strong lately. You feel like, yeah, you've not been yourself because you're coming up in the past position. Could mean you were dealing with another water sign in the past that has something to do with the energies this month. But for the most part, I'm seeing this is you felt a little bit in the last couple of weeks going into July that you've lost yourself. Because I feel like this is you looking for you, during a storm. Four of Pentacles, yeah, you're feeling defensive, you're feeling guarded, you're holding things to yourself, and you're looking for more than you're getting. This for me is the things that you waited for during the retrograde period to come to fruition. Now this is a potential outcome, but the energies are here nonetheless. The Knight of Wands, some of you are dealing with a fire sign. Aries, Sagittarius, or Leo. I feel like Leo for a few people has maybe caused a few problems. I know it did last month. Particularly if you Pisces in your chart, that seemed to be a bit skewed with Leo too. It's just because the Strength card is crossing you may have been dealing with a Leo that's caused you a bit of problems. You may also be traveling, which is very common in the summer months. World card, definitely some of you are traveling. Some of you may be relocating or consider a relocation, and there are messages coming up for you regarding this relocation. So if you are relocating, stay tuned. Five of Cups, Magician, and the Four of Swords. Okay, so the star is underneath, so I feel like your faith has been tested. The reason I say this with the star energy, it's all about keeping optimistic, keeping hope alive. And then with the Four of Swords, I just feel like you guys have exhausted yourself through your own thought patterns. So as I said before, with the Swords energy, a lot of it is mentality. One thing I also say when the Four of Swords comes up is try holistic healing. If you're going through a period of sadness or things that are very out of your control, and you want some way to release a bit of the tension, release a bit of the burden. Things like acupuncture come up with the Four of Swords because he's lying down and there's little swords. They can be representative of needles. Some of you may have had to get injections for traveling because it's coming up the world. Some of you may have a phobia of needles and you're finding that quite overwhelming. But for the most part, I can see this as Scorpios taking a relaxing period from what's going on in their head. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Abraham Hicks's law of attraction teachings on the state of allowing, the state of resistance. When you're resisting things, it basically means that you feel this tension and you can't get your mind off the problem. And when you get having your mind on the problem doesn't solve it. Very few things, unless you have a practical method to do it, very few things will solve your problems because 99% of your problems can be how you're thinking about them. So when you're feeling really uptight, you don't get the answers that you need, you don't get the reciprocation and the support that you need. So oftentimes you just have to say, oh, I'll deal with this as it comes to me. Have a little bit, your confidence has taken a knock, and you're not feeling like you can get through this, or maybe you're not feeling attractive enough, maybe you're not feeling confident, not feeling smart enough, you're doubting yourself, maybe someone's made you doubt yourself. It could be a fire sign, because fire signs have this innate confidence that some people find very intimidating. You know, if they're feeling out in the cold. I have a lot of envy for people that are Scorpios with Moon and Aries, for example, because I just see them as like bravest of the brave, the warrior babies from birth. So if you don't have fire in your chart, oftentimes you can come up against a fire sign and feel lacking, which isn't the case, because you can balance each other out. You can be the temperance energy. You know, fire and water have a complicated relationship, but it can also be one of the most exciting. And whenever someone has something that you don't have, you can learn from them rather than resent them. So I'm feeling a little bit like that. Your confidence may have been knocked, because in your hopes and fears as a magician, you know, you want to make things happen, you want to be in charge. And as we go into the month, I feel like for some reason, you're kind of glass half empty. And I think it's because we're reaching the end of this Jupiter retrograde, which is the planet of luck. So maybe you feel like, when's it your time? I kind of want to tell you, Scorpio, that it's always your time. No one's more magnetic than a Scorpio. Page of Pentacles means some of you may be starting a job. It's crossed by the Page of Wands, so you may have been having delayed news, delayed opportunities. Maybe you have been hoping to hear from work, or you've gone for a promotion that you didn't get. There's been a little bit of delays in the workplace, delays in your creative endeavors. There's been, again, I feel like a lack of confidence because it's crossing you. Could be in the workplace. It may be a boss that doesn't appreciate you, or if you're your own boss, I feel like you're maybe being very hard on yourself. You're not feeling, you know, this emperor mode. I feel like you started off with great intentions, great confidence, but I'm just feeling this like a bit of a knock. Maybe because of this Three of Swords. Now this is in the recent past. Someone may have hurt you. Someone may not have let their guard down to you and it frustrated you. You may have reached out to someone and they were kind of cold. I feel like with the Three of Swords, of course it can mean third party situations as well. I think we had this in the recent past last month, in June. So the important thing to remember is this is behind you, Scorpio, but if you're still feeling the pain, I feel like you're actually holding on to this. With the Four of Pentacles here, you're holding on to this pain, you're holding on to this energy, or you're holding on to this frustration. And it's what's knocking your confidence, because I think you're reliving a significant relationship breakdown over and over and over, and I think this is possibly hindering your current relationships. You're possibly presenting opinions and beliefs onto someone in your life that was actually related to someone in your past. As in, I think you're reliving a past experience in your mind, but it's not necessarily your reality. I came into this reading thinking so much of this is going on in Scorpio's head. Now with Neptune going retrograde in your 5th house of love, it's actually a positive thing. Your intuition is sharper. You can feel more flow with this. When Neptune is going direct, because Neptune's a foggy planet, your brain can be all over. And particularly as it was, I think it was last week, it went into retrograde motion, but the week leading up to that, I know I felt the pain of it. I felt horrendous. And I think this is kind of the energy going on here. It's like not being able to trust yourself, not being able to trust your intuition. I feel like you are having some sort of support issues with your friendship group or your social settings. It may be that you're relying on them too much, or you're relying on the opinions of other people too much, but they don't make your decisions for you. Now the Death card is coming up here with the Knight of Wands. So you may have ended things with a fire sign. The fire sign that you ended things with may have returned. It may be still returning. But it may also be that you're actually transitioning a new period yourself with this person. So you're going from one level to the next level. The Hanged Man is here. So I feel like, as I said, I forgot to mention Mercury goes retrograde on the 26th. I believe in Leo. So that's your 10th house of career. There may be some setbacks in career, delays in career, and delays in travel, because the World card, traveling by plane, traveling by boat, and with the Hangman, you know the drill. But everyone knows that about Mercury retrograde at this point. 10 of Wands. And the Ace of Wands right beside the Four of Swords. And underneath, as I mentioned before, Temperance. Getting your confidence back. Taking a minute, taking a rest, and getting your confidence back. The Ace of Wands is just what the Scorpio needs, because it is all about being self-assured, being confident, being fiery, being in charge. It's a new beginning. It's the energies. Energies. You still have to do some of the work. With Temperance here, I think you could rely on a fire sign a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lover either. It can be a friend, you know, spending time with a fiery friend. Scorpio and Leo friends, I know for me, I have a lot of Leo friends and I just adore them. I sometimes think with Scorpio Leos, you can be a really great dynamic duo. You know, if you're not the type of people that have like ego issues, because they're both quite driven and competitive signs. So if you can have that like leveled energy with Temperance here, you can have a really great spark with people like that. Similarly with fire signs, you can have really great intense relationships with these people that are quite spicy. So this is like a jalapeno, you know, spicy. I feel like this is you coming into the month feeling a little bit flat, a little bit dejected, a little bit lacking in confidence, and then boom, a match gets struck. And a spark is there. I feel like there's a spark. I'm also getting with Temperance a renewed spark. So for some people that could be a relationship that didn't get off the ground. It could be a brand new person. It could be an old person. It could have been a tough relationship with the Three of Swords there and the Four of Pentacles. It could be someone that you've held on to for a long time. I feel like this energy for Scorpios though, with past people, what I said before about manifesting things. If you really, really, really do want someone to come back, and you're open to it, it's more likely to yield better results. If this is someone that's really hurt you, bear in mind you might not really want them to come back subconsciously, and you may be confusing yourself because it's familiar. But I do see a renewed spark here and a brand new spark as well. So it depends on the Scorpio and what they want in life, really. But we'll know more. If the Six of Cups pops out, then could be an old flame. The Ace of Cups pops out, could be a new flame. So let's see. Certainly in career, expect some delays before the momentum takes off, because the Four of Swords is the delays. It's like flatlining in career, not really feeling like it's moving, not really feeling like it's progressing, and then the Ace of Wands is just oof, oof. Temperance has come out again. Crossed by the Sun, some of you are definitely dealing with a Leo person where there's unfinished business. This one always makes me laugh because I always feel like for most Scorpios, there seems to be a Leo relationship somewhere in their past. It was quite tough. As I said, there's that real charismatic bond with Leo people. Could be Leo Moon or Rising, or Leo Venus, Leo Mars. You know, Leo in the chart could just present as a very sunny, optimistic people. This may also represent you losing your optimism. As I said, drawing on Leo friendships could be very beneficial for you at this time to get a bit of your spark back. Ten of Pentacles. For any of you that have started your own business, just know that it's built on solid foundations. For any of you that are going through a hard period of work, just know that it's built on solid foundations. You have a real drive, you have a real spark. So the Ten of Pentacles and the Emperor, being your own boss, is brilliant for you. Being strong and independent in work is very well aspected, but you're not seeing this. This is the behind the scenes. This is the past. This means it was built on steady foundations. It means you have an ability to manifest money in abundance. It's just that right now you don't see it because your confidence is so low. Ace of Cups. So yeah, some of you are getting new love. But it is coming up in the recent past beside the Three of Swords. So some of you are reuniting with a painful split. Some of you are reuniting with somebody where there was a significant distance. So I mean like a long distance relationship. Depending on how you view long distance, some people view it as 2-hour drive down the road, and some people do it as an ocean. It depends on the perception. I think for some of you specifically, there was a long distance relationship that didn't take off the ground because the other person wasn't open to it. The other person didn't see it as plausible. The other person didn't think it could work. But there may be either somebody new coming in or beginning again with this person. They may be releasing their fear in the matter. A lot of alcohol and party temptations. I feel like a lot of you are going to be invited out this month. A lot of celebrations, a lot of social celebrations, charity events and galas and things, but comes up with the Six of Pentacles. Some of you are fundraising for causes, but for a lot of you it just represents a lot of invitations. The Hierophant. So some of you are dealing, because this comes up with death, some of you are dealing with an ex-spouse. Could be a fire sign, as I said, but they're coming into the picture. There's something you need to deal with them. There's something that needs to be discussed. There's something that needs to be talked about. But this can also mean moving from one level of commitment to another level of commitment. It just depends on the situation, really. With the Death card, when it's your energy, Scorpio, I tend to read it as one of your transformation periods, because Scorpio, the phoenix from the ashes, consistently in life you will transform all the time. You will shed your skin, you will begin again, and you will be a different person. Scorpio rarely feels like a lot of change is happening, but if you could step into the shoes of another sign, you would realize that change and transformation is your thing. Like, it really is. And when I say the Death card, I feel like it means you're having that moment. And with the Hierophant, I think it's moving from one period into another. It could be a religious transformation. It could be a spiritual transformation. I think it's a spiritual transformation for you. And it could be, again, with the Jupiter energy, but I also think it's more so to do with, when I see it with the Knight of Wands, I think a lot of Scorpios have greater commitment issues than they realize. Some of you are probably cross-watching and dealing with a Scorpio that's afraid of you, or, well, afraid of love is what I'm getting. Someone who's got their guard up, because the Four of Pentacles, Three of Swords in the past position suggests to me a Scorpio that's very frightened of getting hurt and will push your buttons, push your boundaries, push your way. And they're going through these issues at the moment. Because the Knight of Wands to me isn't always the greatest relationship knight. He can be very flippant, he can be very excited, he can woo you and then vanish. So I think a lot of Scorpios are going through their own commitment issues. A lot of the time as well, when you are attracting people that don't do commitment either, it's because on a subconscious level you're so afraid of getting hurt, you're playing it safe, and you may not see it, but it can sometimes be there. There's a delayed romance coming up, or a romance that has been delayed, that comes back to communication in July. Could be a Scorpio as well, it could be a Leo, it could be Aquarius, or it could be a Taurus when the World card is there. It could be a Capricorn, because the World is Saturn. But up until now, you've actually been rejecting relationships that can build on things. And I feel a little bit like it's subconsciously your own making. Now the Lovers is here. And then the Nine of Pentacles. So this is all about feeling fulfilled, feeling like things are finally developing. It's one step away from that Ten of Pentacles. Things are coming to fruition. You're seeing the benefits of your own life. Some of you are beginning again as single people. Some of you have come through very hard endings. I think some of you are definitely dealing with a divorce. And you're finally getting your feet back in July. I think some of you have come out of long-term relationships and you're getting your feet back in July. But I feel like a lot of you, the influence this this month is going to be on seeing the things that you wanted come to fruition. That's specific for you. If you have a little dream in your head, this is it coming to fruition after a long period of not seeing the actual results. And I feel like it's a very welcome change. Now, the Two of Pentacles is here, so you're trying to get a balance between career and love. For those of you dealing with love, I do see another fire sign in the equation and a water sign. But really, in readings, when you have a spread as big as this, most signs come up. It's just that the Knight of Wands is there, the Court card. And it's kind of great because we don't have, apart from the pages, we don't have many court cards, which means you're making your own decisions. I feel like you're breaking away from other people's expectations and other people's reliance on you to be a certain way, because they don't have to deal with the consequences of your own actions, Scorpio. So I feel like you're making your own call. Okay. The Lovers is here as well. So some of you may actually be dealing with a Gemini because it's with the Magician. But I feel like love is starting to manifest in the way that you wanted it to. Like in the specific way that you wanted it to. I just see that whatever it is for you that you've been holding on to since Jupiter came into your sign, you know, when Jupiter comes into your sign, you think, great, let's make a shopping list of all the things in life that I want. And when it goes retrograde, I feel like you found yourself back in old behavioural patterns, old thought patterns, and things are delayed, things are stifled, which is how you're going into July. And then July 10th onwards. I actually personally feel like from July 7th onwards, you get this like spark because of the Ace of Wands here, but it is the 10th that Jupiter finally goes direct in your sign. But I definitely feel like there's a sense of expecting the unexpected. I feel like there's a rebirth here, a rebirth of you, a rebirth of a relationship, a rebirth of being driven in your career if you felt very stifled. The energy here is very Phoenix rising from the ashes for me. It's very fiery, very driven, and I feel like you're going to come out of this month feeling like the Energizer Buddy, like the Energizer Bunny. That's what I'm saying. Which is a good look for Scorpio. Scorpios look the best whenever they're excited and they're confident and they're driven. They look their worst whenever they're worried and feeling very needy and feeling very insecure, but we all do it. It's part of the rebirthing period. It's looking inward to expand outward. So if you're feeling that way at the minute, Scorpio, don't be so hard on yourself. The tides are changing. So thank you for watching, and I will talk to you in August.